Up? Hey guys, it's Ivan, and in this video I wanted to give you a summary slash review of the book Ask by Ryan Levesque. That's how it's pronounced, all right, French, I think. Um, so a little bit about the author, as we usually do with all the reviews and summaries. This is straight from the biography, like word for word from the back of the book, but it gives you a good idea. So in 2008, he was armed with nothing but a $450 laptop, an Ivy League background in neuroscience, and an insatiable curiosity to understand why people buy. Ryan Levesque basically left his job and he went on to start his own online business. It wasn't successful. So then he started wondering, why are people buying? Why do they buy? What causes them to buy? And he created kind of this method. Okay. And now he uses this method to help out multi-million-dollar businesses and help out businesses worldwide realize their potential. In truth, when you read his biography, it's not as bad as it seems. Like he has a job where he's making a solid six-figure income. He's living very well, and then he decides to leave it. So like it's his personal choice, right? So it's not as bad as it seems. He comes from a good background, right? He's got everything he needs, but regardless, this is basically how he started. Okay, so in the book, like the first half of the book, the first 60 or 70 pages, talks about him and kind of how he came across this idea. So here's his website, ryanlevesque.net, and you can take a look at that if you want. It has some information about him. Okay, so for those people that are saying, I'm not going to listen to a word of anything anyone is saying until I know their credibility, well, here you go. Here's a little bit of that. Okay? So what's the book about? The book centers around one concept: ask. All right. So it's if you want to sell something, you need to ask the people what they want, because that's how it goes. Okay. You can sell rotten fish to someone who is starving out in the ocean. They will buy your rotten fish because they're starving, right? So the thing is, ask what people want and they're gonna buy it. So the first half of the book, like I mentioned, covers his kind of biography. Not biography like from beginning to end, but more of like more of um, centered around the area of how he came across the idea. Okay, so starts off with him, finishing school in the neuroscience field, looking for a job, getting a job, etc., etc. Okay, so it's not like from when he was 1 year old. Okay, the second half of the book covers the exact methodology. So that's kind of the real purpose of the book, because the idea that you should give people what they want can be said in one sentence, right? I just said it right there. Give people what they want. So really, the point of the book is to give you a method, to the madness of how you can create this happen from start to finish. Okay, it goes through absolutely everything. Um, so the idea is, instead of directly promoting something, first invest in finding out what they want. That's the idea, and that's kind of what he talks about. So for example, right, this is just an example I made up. It's kind of silly, but it's an extreme, so it gives you an idea. So if you're selling a sports enhancement product, okay, to people, and you find from your survey that 90% of the people are here because when they were a kid, they dreamed about using some product to increase their performance. So this tells you, right? This allows you to place yourself in your audience's shoes. And now, when you structure your emails, when you structure your landing page, you can say exactly that. Okay, you can say, hey, something like this: have you ever wondered what it would be like, or have you ever wished as a kid that you would want this sports enhancing product, right? Um, so like this is basically it, right? You are, because you're putting yourself in your audience's shoes. The audience will relate to you. They will trust you much more than if you're saying irrelevant stuff. So the point of the book is, don't assume, it's test out. Okay. So let me just move myself back. So the book has 22 chapters, 192 pages, and it covers the methodology. Okay, so the main part are these 6 chapters. Okay, everything else is like the last 2 chapters are kind of case studies, just 2 case studies, like 3 pages each. The first part is his like little, like I said, biography, and then these 6 chapters are really the core of the book. Okay, so this is really what you would need the book for if you're gonna read it. Okay, uh, so these 6 steps: it's prepare, which is you're preparing, you're getting out the survey. It's persuade, so you're making a landing page to persuade people actually after they tell you what they want. Segment, it's after you find out the research, you're able to segment and separate people into kind of these categories that they're interested in. Prescribe, it's like the sales page. Profit, upsells, and pivot, email sequence. Okay, so let's go into a little bit more detail into all of these. So prepare the deep dive survey. So again, don't just think what your audience wants, but get proof for it. So what he's saying here is the first thing you ever need to do if you're trying to sell something is find out what the people want by creating a survey. So invest in a survey. If you have an email list already, perfect. Just send your email list a survey, right? He gives a rough guideline, like 2 paragraphs of what to say. Basically, it says, tell me what your challenge is, and I'll be able to give you like a special offer when this product comes out, especially tailored and suited to your needs. Okay. So like that's basically how you would structure your email. That's basically it. If you don't have an email list, that's where you would pay for traffic. You would invest. It seems painful, but based on what Ryan is saying, it pays off. Okay. So yes, you pay for traffic. You won't really get anything out of it right away. But again, it's an investment. So you will create a survey and you will create a ton of different questions and a ton of different answers, and then you will segment. Okay, so in this section you will also segment, or sorry, in this step you'll also segment your list based on different buckets, as he calls it. So if you have one, like going back to our sports example, you have one group of people say as a kid they ever wanted they wanted to do this because of this. You have another group of people saying, hey, you know what? I really want this because I'm afraid of what's going to happen if I lose my next tournament. That's going to be your second bucket, et cetera, et cetera. So you keep going and you keep doing kind of these buckets of people. And then what you do is you create special offers. Okay. So that's later on. This is the stage where you prepare and you just find out what those buckets are. So some of the tips are: start with the single most important survey question first, which is basically, what is your number one challenge in this field? That's what he says to do. That should be your first question, because if the user leaves after the first or the second question, you still have this important part. Okay. The other thing is, don't make your survey pretty. Don't make it appealing. You want people that are serious, and the people that are most serious will not care whether your page is pretty or not. So make it ugly so you can, remove all those people that are there just because it looks nice. All right. So that's basically the first part. It's prepare. It's make this initial survey and separate your answers into buckets. Okay. That's it. That's it. So next is persuade and segment. Basically, you're now going to create the landing page. This is your actual sales funnel. So after you gather all this data, now you can start sending traffic. It could be either the same traffic or it could be new traffic. And now you can send this new traffic to this sales page. But here's the thing. Now this sales page will contain all that information which you gathered from this deep dive survey. So again, sports example, people that are afraid that they're going to fail, well, that's what your landing page is going to be centered around. Hey, are you afraid you're going to fail at this? Here's what you can do. Fill out the survey. Let us know exactly, blah, blah, blah. Okay. It's going to be centered around that. So that's for the persuade, right? That's the landing page part. So, have the right hook, have the right headline, et cetera, et cetera. Something that relates directly to, Ryan focuses on these 4 different buckets. You can have as many as you want, but, ideally 4, because he goes by the 20-80 rule. So 20% of the work is done by 80% of the people, 80% of the work is done by 20% of the people. Okay. So basically find out these, for these 20% of the buckets that do 80% of the work, that occupy 80% of the market. So after they do that, it's time to segment. So now you can actually ask the people these questions, but this isn't to find out what their problems are. This is to actually be able to help them. So you're sending them through a series of different questions as a micro commitment. So after they land on your landing page, you're going to say, hey, fill out the survey. Let us know what your problem is, and we will help you right on the spot. So now you already know what problems people face. You already know that. Now you're just making a survey not to find out. You're making a survey to direct them to the right place, to direct them to the right landing page and to the right offer. Okay. So here your questions and answers will be more concise. You won't have as many, because ideally the less the better. But again, going back to step 1 in the deep dive survey, you can't have a little bit, right? You need a lot, because you need to test out, and you don't know what the buckets are. Here, you know what the buckets are. You know what groups those people are separated in. So here's where you would kind of put those buckets. Okay. This is also where you get the ball rolling. So after this, you will send people either to the sales page or to kind of a page where they can put in their email and name. That's of course the most recommended option, because you need to figure out their name and email, right? So after they fill out the survey, how you sometimes get those offers where you type something in and you're looking for something, and then you fill out this questionnaire, and then at the end it says, hey, if you want to get your answer, just put in the email. So this is exactly what's going on here. After those people go through the survey, and they kind of find out what their results, or they want to know what their results are, this is where they would put in their name and email to find out what the results are. So this is exactly what you're doing here. Okay. Alternatively, again, instead of doing that, you could just send them off straight to the sales page with the solution to their answer. All right. And that's the next part. So that's the prescribed, that's the sales page. So users will land on your, eventually they'll land on your sales page with their own customized solution. And this is, again, the crux of the book. It's that you're delivering to people what they're looking for. Okay. So basically here I said like you're hitting the jackpot because you're giving people what they want. Whether they say yes or no to your offer, hopefully by now that you should have an email so you can market to them. And this is that pivot email sequence. I'll get into a little bit more detail next slide. But the profit, again, this is the upsell sequence. Okay, so this is basically where you would put your sales funnel into play. So you would give them an upsell, you would give them a downsell, regardless of what they said. We spent a lot of time talking about this in my other videos. I'll put a card up above. Just click the link up above if you want to know about the benefits of a sales funnel, what they are, et cetera, et cetera. But basically, we've covered that, and that's what one chapter of the book is about. So the email sequence, this is the last part. Basically, he's saying, regardless of what happens, whether people buy or don't buy, you need to email people, right? We know that already, okay? We know that we must email people if we want to get sales. People don't always buy the first time, they buy the second time around. So after you find out what people want, separate them into these two groups, buyers and non-buyers, and now you would send them emails. So regardless of whether they're buyers or non-buyers, obviously there's going to be a few differences, but really some of the things that are similar, and I mean, most of the things are similar here. So you would include, for example, testimonials. You would include frequently asked questions. You would include calls to action. You would include, if they didn't read your email, you would say like why didn't you read my email? Do you hate me? Right? Which is this popular thing Ryan uses. He says, do you hate me? Because he says it instills this kind of desire to not be in a position where people think they hate you, right? So it basically forces a response based on what Ryan is saying. And of course, the pivot. So the pivot basically means you'll be taking people again in another circle. Okay. So saying something like, here I have, we realize this product or these products were not ideal. Maybe they were not good for you. They were not of interest to you at this point in time. So why don't you try, option A, B, or C? And you give them other options. They can click on those and they'll be taken to their own customizable pages. And then the process repeats itself. They land on those pages, they answer survey questions, they land on a particular landing page, right? And the whole thing goes around in a circle, in a circle, in a circle. And of course, that's how you maximize your income, okay? So if you can make kind of this chain, this spider web of different websites and different offers, landing pages, email sequences, that's the goal. And that's the point of this pivot email sequence. So that's about it for the book. That's really the core of it, the crux of it. I mean, in the book, he gives examples, he explains it, but really this is it. So, my review is I found the idea incredibly useful. I found the methodology incredibly useful. For that, I would recommend the book. But I think that some parts could have been trimmed. And the idea that you should give people what they ask for, like, I don't think that's worth 200 pages in my opinion. He does provide methodology, but just by knowing the fact that I should create a product that matches people's needs, like that's enough for me to take action on my own, right? Like I don't necessarily need a methodology. If I know that, hey, create a survey, that's all I need, right? Now, without reading the book, what I would have done is I would have created a survey, and then I would have tailored my landing page, my email sequence, everything else based on that survey. So this is basically what the book covers. So I didn't really need the book to do that, right? The book covers it into a bit more detail, but it wasn't too useful, right? Like the main idea was that I should ask people. That's the main thing, okay? So overall, again, I would recommend the book, but I do think it could be shorter, and it didn't need to be an entire 200 pages for that whole concept. Now, if you have watched the video till the end, really, you pretty much have everything you need. So all those 6 things we covered, that is pretty much everything you need to know about the book. Except, of course, if you want to read about Ryan's, biography and how he came across the idea, that's about 60 or 70 pages that you can only get from here, right? But just reading someone's biography without knowing what the point is kind of beats the point. There's no point in just reading biographies. The point of reading biographies is to find out kind of what the mentality is, where those people came from, and how can I utilize what they learned. So unless you actually learn what this guy's teaching, there's no point in reading his biography, right? It doesn't matter as long as you know this stuff. So nevertheless, if you are interested, you can get the book through through Amazon. I'll attach my affiliate link down below at no extra cost to you. Ryan, he does give some resources, some of his own resources, right? So he tries to upsell some of his own resources. He does give them in the book. So if you kind of want a ready-to-made implementation system where Ryan maybe does it for you himself, or he gives you all the tools necessary to do this, from start to finish, definitely check it out. Again, he's got the websites, he's got all the resources there you can take a look at and you can use. So especially like if you want one-on-one training or you just want everything right there and there, you don't have to kind of, deal with, for example, we use GetResponse. You don't have to deal with GetResponse and ClickFunnels and ClickMagic. Kind of Ryan has his own system in place just for the purpose of this, okay? It's probably much more simplified. It's probably not as complex and complicated and as effective for maybe large scale things because his stuff is more tailored to this concept. Okay? But that is available for you if you're interested. Okay, so that's about it. If you guys enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. On this channel we cover really different aspects and angles of online and affiliate marketing, anything from reviews to how-tos and to different tools, so like ClickFunnels, ClickMagic, any type of technical how-tos, anything related to online marketing. This is what this channel is about. All right. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought, what your thoughts are, if you read the book or you didn't read it, or if you found this review helpful, if you find this, what I'm doing on PowerPoint slides, my reviews helpful at all, so I can keep going or I can, not keep going. I do want to listen to my audience as well and make sure, I deliver the right value and content for you guys. But that is about it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.